Hey guys, I'm Elite Npen, and today I'm going to show you how a pro Fortnite player warms up for tournaments. My typical routine includes Kovacs, PGs against really good players, and creative maps as well. I'm going to talk you guys through my routine and tell you why it works for me and what it helps me improve on. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get right into it. I think a warm-up is one of the most important things that a player can do to make sure that they're getting better and consistently improving. So for me, for a tournament, I usually get on 2.5 to 3 hours before and start off with my Kovacs routine, which this season I've increased how long I do it because I'm trying to grind harder. But you know, it really just depends on the player on how long you want to spend on each individual part of your warm-up. My warm-up for me personally, I spend around 2 to 2.5 hours on Kovacs, like 30 minutes on creative maps, and then I'll PG all the way up until like 5 minutes before the tournament. So if I have an hour left before the tournament, then I'll PG for an hour, but it really just depends on the tournament and on the day. I warm up starting off with Kovacs, and I think that Kovacs is really essential for building mouse control and like helping you learn how to aim, not necessarily improving your aim, but you can take what you learn from Kovacs and other aim trainers and kind of mold it into learning how to aim better in the game. So that's why I spend a lot of time on Kovacs. I think it's really important. And then I move on to creative maps after that to try to get my edit timing down and just, feel warm before I start PGing people that are also really good at the game. I always try to warm up some days before tournaments if I wake up really late or something, or if it's like opens of FNCS, I'll just go into it no warm up. And some days I play better without warm up. It just kind of depends, but it's kind of random. I try to stay consistent with warm ups though, because that way you're just a more consistent player overall. And that way you don't have as many days where you're really good one day and then the next day you feel like you don't even know how to build or shoot or anything like that. I feel like with warm ups, if you consistently do them every day, you stay around the same skill level and it just makes you a better player overall. There's some days when I don't warm up and I'll feel crazy at the game for some reason, but then I feel like the next day, even if I go back to warming up, I'll have an off day, which I just hate, because then I feel like I'm wasting a day of playing pretty much. If you're not playing at your top, then there's really no point to practice if you're playing bad. But yeah, overall I think warm-ups are definitely like one of the biggest things a player can do to be consistent and improve at a good rate. So these are all the routines that I use every single day. I try to do this shotgun routine just because I feel like it's the one that gets me the most warmed up, and it usually takes about 1 hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours. I run through each scenario in this routine 5 times. If I feel like I'm struggling on one of them, I'll usually run it for longer just so I feel fully warmed up, and then I'll usually run a second one of these other routines, and I run through a schedule of them, like randomly one extra one per day. It just depends on the day. So like say today I did smoothness, the next day I do centering, and then close fast tracking, and then fundamental tracking. And I think Kovacs is something that is really important for players if they're trying to build mouse control and make themselves more consistent with aiming. But everybody's different. Everyone just kind of has to find their own warm-up routine. It just depends on the player, and how they play, but that's what works for me. So this creative map is one of the couple maps that I use. I feel like this one is a super universal map that, everybody of any skill level could use to get better at the game. It helps really with, figuring out how to box an enemy and how to utilize your, angles correctly without taking damage. And so no matter what skill level you are, I feel like it can always improve you as a player and help you get, warmed up for tournaments and stuff like that. Another map that I use is an edit timing map, but that's kind of just something that I use personally because I've recognized that my edit timing isn't the best. So really, as a player, you just have to find out what you're bad at and what the best thing for you is to improve on. To say like you're not the best at editing with your pickaxe out or something, and you want to, do a Raiders edit course where there's no bots. It really just depends on you as a player, and you want to find something that will help you improve whatever you're bad at, So this is the final part of my warm-up, and I feel like this is like one of the most universal things that somebody can do to, get warmed up, no matter who it is. I feel like everybody in the game, needs to fight someone that's like actually playing the game before you play a tournament or something like that. So I'll usually just try to find a friend or another competitive player to 1v1 at the beginning. And whatever, it really depends on the day how long I'll 1v1, but if the tournament starts like an hour before, I'll play for that full hour up until right before the tournament, so I feel completely warmed. Or if I finish my Kovacs and my other creative maps early, then it could go into 2 hours or 3 hours before the tournament. And that way, I think this is probably the most important thing in a warm-up, is getting actual like in-game practice, because you can always aim train and you can run through creative maps and feel really fast in edit courses, but if you're not actually fully prepared to like play the actual game, you might not play as good as you possibly could. That was my personal warm-up routine, guys. Once again, I I do Kovacs, a couple creative maps, and I PG to make sure that I'm feeling right before tournaments. If you guys have any questions about what works for you or any more recommendations, I'll be checking out the comments down below. Make sure to drop a like and hit the subscribe button as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.